little brighter. Hi, folks. It's me. Distracting myself while I'm doing my makeup. Look at this guy. So, I can't even remember. I think the last time I talked to you guys, my dad was on hospice, and my dog's scratching his ear. I think he had a ear infection. On top of everything, my dog threw up twice today, and now he's scratching his ear like crazy too. Did they go hand in hand? Anybody know? Anyway. There we go. All right. So I'll wait to see if anybody comes on before I start blabbing, but I'm letting my moisturizer dry. I love this stuff. It smells so good. It is Caudalie Premier Cru. This stuff smells so good. It's made with grapeseed. That's the consistency. Yes. Why is some of the tinfoil still there? I don't know. Oh, it's refillable too. I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. So you don't waste the glass jars. But yes, this stuff smells amazing. Amazing. I'm gonna put some on my hands because I got it in there. But yes, made with grapeseed. Always. Why are you so itchy, Snoops? More baby. Nope. Here, go sit over there. Go play with your toy. So, Snoop's a mess. I'm a mess. My dad has passed away, and I can't even remember. I don't know. I think I said he was on hospice last I talked to you guys. I think it's been a blur. It's been hard. It's been different than I would expect. I think the overwhelm is very strong. There's, in grief of someone close to you, there's a lot of, well, in my experience, it's like a lot of up and down and up and down. Like, where I'll feel like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm strong. Like, you know me. I'm a tough girl. I've been through a lot. I'm just a strong personality. I'm tough. I just keep going. I push through things. And you can't push through everything, obviously. We know that. And, I'm all about healing and giving myself time and meditating or whatever. But there's also grief where you're, it can be paralyzing, where you're like, yeah, hi, I'm going to, I'm waiting for my moisturizer to dry before I put my face on. Where it's paralyzing, where I don't have it in me. And usually I can push past a lot, right? I'm going to use my Dermatology Universal Tinted SPF 46. So I can usually push past things. And I probably could push through more right now even, but I know you're not supposed to push through it. I know with this type of thing, you're supposed to sit and feel it, give yourself rest. I'm kind of letting the feelings come up. I've been calling it a floaty feeling. Like, I feel floaty and like I'm floating through clouds and bouncing between all the feelings and all the thoughts and all the moments. Like, I came in here and saw my photo album and I, started looking through that. There's me and my dad in Mexico. Chichen Itza, we climbed those steps behind us. That was, I don't know why it was a dream of mine to climb up Chichen Itza, but it was at 15. Everyone wants to climb the Mexican ruins. But, there's moments like that where I'm like, I'm going to let myself just get distracted or, looking, embracing and saying, yeah, I'm going to look for these pictures even if it makes me sad because I want to cling to those memories right now, right? Even that, I thought it would be a lot, like if I would look at a picture, I'd like explode crying. And I mean, I have a couple times, but other times I've just looked through it and it's brought me joy, which I did not think would happen, right? Like sometimes I'm like, that was such a fun trip, you know, where I didn't think that would be possible. But then, like, I was in the store the other day, I had to get pick up my wedding band. It was sent away to fix a stone. And I was in the store, and this guy gave me a warm smile, and I looked back at him and smiled, and my eyes, you know, were dropping after we met eyes, and his shirt said Super Daddy-O. And I called my dad Daddy-O. He's Daddy-O in my phone, right? Like, that was what his name was to me. And so that triggered me. So I'm in a jewelry store, and like, oh, you know, and I just like turned and walked away. Like, my husband was Cora, and I just kind of walked away from them to try to compose myself, right? Like, those moments, I guess that I did expect to happen. But what I've noticed too is because we have a million thoughts a day, right? A million. More than a million. No, I don't know how many thoughts. I don't know. I'm not a research type girl. But we have a lot of thoughts a day, and I'm sure a lot of things trigger different thoughts of people, right? Like, in our minds, we have all these thoughts that connect to other people every day. And what I've noticed is because I guess he's on the forefront of my mind, obviously, there's so many more reminders every day, which I probably quickly like bypass, like things I wouldn't even normally think of. I'm stopping because it's catching me going, oh, that reminds me of my dad, like a song on the radio. Like this flamingo, right? Like I just looked at it because I was just looking. I knew something would pop out because it's so in the forefront of the brain that it's gonna look for things, right? Like if you say, oh, I love the number 3, you're going to see the number 3 more because your brain is focused on it, right? So the flamingo, it made me just, he lives in Florida, but he once sent me a little like Beanie Baby type thing that, you know, that was a flamingo, like had a flamingo shirt on it, you know? So that's something that's been like harder in the fact of it's nice, those reminders, but it's also like a lot. Like I'm thinking about him literally throughout every single day, on top of the grief, also all of the memories and reminders, you know, that we have, you know, that we had together just make me think of him. I even saw a quarter, and he used to call me, or, you okay? Poor little Snoopsy. Well, when I was younger, he'd play this game, like, it was a joke. Every time Santana, which he loved that band, would come on, he'd be like, with me and my brother, or just if I was in the car alone even, he'd go, all right, a quarter if you can name this band. And it was always Santana. That was the joke. So I'd always get a quarter. Right? So he used to call me, even like in college, and probably, I think even like, you know, he didn't, not in recent years, but, you know, for like a decade, maybe even after college or something, he'd call and be like, name that band. Because he'd be like in his car and Santana would come up, you know. And I'd say, Santana. And he'd say, all right, you got a quarter, you know. So it was just like this joke. So I just saw a quarter the other day on a table when we were, you know, out. And the quarter made me think of my dad. Would it always? I don't know. You know, it's like because he's on the forefront. So it's kind of, which I think it's good and bad. You know, like it's like with everything else. There's a good, you know, a pro and con to everything. I feel like it's nice to like think of all these memories, but it's also like, oh, can I have a break? Can I have a break? Like I'm already thinking about it. I don't need all the reminders right now. Oh, my battery's very low. And now I'm going to use, oh, I didn't show my, hold on. This is the blush I use. It's Milani Bella Bellini. It is the most gorgeous summer blush in your ever. And it's cheap. It's Milani, so it's not super expensive. You can't get better than that. You can't. It's like duochrome almost, like with a peach and goldish. What? This is called Nudegasm Face Palette by Charlotte Tilbury. So anyway, I can't tell you the amount of like people and you know, it's like with the dark comes light where people show up, you know. There are people that don't show up as much and you might be surprised or a little like, that's that sucks that I would expect more out of that person. But I'm also finding that I think death is a hard thing for a lot of people to deal with, so they might have their own like issues with it, or just like blocks. Like they may not even want to reach out to you because they don't want to get into some big talk and then have to reflect on it themselves or think about their parents passing or their own mortality, you know? It's not a fun thing to think about. So I'm reminding myself because there are definitely multiple people I would have expected to reach out. Some haven't, maybe at all. That's like rare that I would expect to, but more so the common thing is like there will be like a text, so sorry for your loss. And that's it. And I would have expected that person to call or something, like just something more than kind of the generic thing that your like acquaintances say. And I appreciate it all. It's like, I'm like, well, they thought of me. That's nice. I'm not like mad at it. By the way, I used this highlighter on my lid, and then I'm going to go in the crease with this blush. I don't know. Is that what it's meant to be? I don't know. It's called Super Glow. So I'm not like mad at it, and I'm also realizing like this shit is tough, and a lot of people, you know, don't want to really like marinate in it. I remember my dad had like really, it was like his cancer was so bad when I was in my 20s. If you don't know the story about my father, I'm not going to tell the recent things because we didn't talk about discussing his recent health, so I just don't want to do that. But back in the day, he loved sharing his story, his cancer story. We talked about it on my YouTube channel. You guys may or may not remember him being on my YouTube channel multiple times. And talking about that was one of the videos we talked about his story. But basically, when I was in my early 20s, my dad got diagnosed with brain cancer, like real fast. It was a call. I was driving, and it was like, your father is going into emergency surgery. He has a huge wiffle ball sized tumor in his brain. So come on down, right? And the rest of it, I won't go in the whole story because it's a lot, but and I know a lot of people don't, you know, it's hard stuff, but it was a lot of years of a lot of treatment and stuff, and I was down there a lot taking care of him and going up and down emotionally. My whole 20s decade was really, really fucking hard. And then we knew it was a miracle. It was magical. That's why I love to share the story, because it can give other people hope, you know. But it was a miracle. It was a miracle that he was alive, and then to live 20 more years after that was crazy. They did say, and I'll leave this part as the most I'll say about it for his privacy. They did say, you know, as he ages, this all could affect him. Could make his lifespan a little shorter, and it did. But I'm not going into details on that. It's not, that part's not important. But my neighbor just texted me. She just heard, I guess, from another neighbor. So anyway, I don't remember what I'm just like blabbing about now, but that was the story, and I don't even remember where I was going with that. I don't even remember. Anyone remember? But basically, he went through a hell of a lot. I know that. And he was a fighter and a trooper, and honestly, an inspiration on his fighting and healing journey. And it's hard, you know? It's hard. Does it make it easier that we were prepared in a way for a little while? In a way, I guess, yes, but then there was also watching someone suffer and different things like that, you know? It's so none of it is great, right? But I am a believer. He is at peace. I'll share this. I just shared this with my friend this morning. I was praying the first night he passed. I could not sleep, obviously. I was trying to pray. I couldn't even feel God. Normally, I pray, I feel God instantly. Me and JC like this. And I was praying. I just couldn't feel anything. I was so, just emotional, I guess. And I was like, Dad, are you there? Kind of thing. And I was like, all right, God, can you just show me, please, can you just give me a sign that he's at peace? And this is crazy. It gets crazy and crazier. So I'm laying in my bed. And by the way, while he was in hospice, I was sitting at, and I think I might have told this story. I don't know, the last video I did. But I was sitting, and I was like upset and crying about him getting close to death. And this owl feather, I didn't know it was an owl feather at first. I had to look it up, but it was like, it just started swirling like from the sky next to my driver's side window, right? So it's like, but it just sat and twirled and like didn't move down. It was suspended in the air. And I know like physics, it can happen, right? It's, centrifugal force or so. I don't know what it is. I'm not a scientist. But the feather was spinning, just staying there in the space. And I felt that like it was like a sign, from God or whatever. Just this peaceful, beautiful thing. And then it slowly dropped to the ground. I looked up the sign of the feather. And the first thing was, I'm trying to think, the first thing, I know wisdom is one with owls, but an owl feather, or feather specifically, was like peace. And then it said in association with death, it's bringing peace and comfort. And I was like, that's nice. So fast forward to when he passed, and I was in my bed, and I'm crying, and I'm just like, oh, just please at least give me a sign that he is at peace. That's like all I want to know, And like immediately after I thought that, I hear an owl outside my window, which doesn't happen. It's not a thing that happens. And it was like, oh, I can't. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I keep trying to do the owl sign, and I'm embarrassing myself. But it was an owl sound, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm just overtired. I'm like hearing shit, I'm like, there's not an owl outside my window. But it was like so loud and sounded right outside my window. And then I was like, I don't know if that's that kind of thinking. And then I heard on the window. And we're on the second floor up. So nobody's out there trying to break in. I was like, maybe it's the weird owl. Maybe it's a woodpecker. But okay. I'm like, is this the sign? Then the owl sound, the tapping. And then Alexa lights up like the whole room with the blue ring, just randomly, and then shuts off. And I'm like, well, that could happen. This isn't enough for me. This isn't enough. And then my light blows out. But so the light turns off, but when I turn the thing again, and it clicks, I turn it, and it turns on again. So it wasn't that the light bulb even burnt, it just went off. So we had the owl, the hoo-hoo, we had the tapping, we had Alexa, and we had the light off. And I was like, all right, God, thank you. There's my sign. So I felt like, okay, this is the sign that he's at peace. So that was nice. That did comfort me. I still didn't sleep that night very well at all, but it did bring me a little comfort. But back to just the floatiness. Oh, I've had a lot of physical symptoms. The first night I literally couldn't walk. Like I was crawling on the floor to the other room to take, I don't even remember actually. I don't remember who called me. Like, I mean, I know my mom called me, but then I can't remember if I called my uncle or he called, like, it's a blur. But I remember taking a call in the other room, but I went to get up to go because I didn't want to, like, have to be around everybody. Like, Cora was still awake, my husband was there, and I was like, so I went to go to the other room, and then, like, my legs just buckled and I fell to the ground. So I just, instead of like freaking out, I just crawled to the other room. I was like, I figured it was normal. I'm like, this is probably normal, as I lizarded over to the other room. But then it like didn't come back for a long time, and then they were really jelly like, and they were jelly like for days after. Like through the weekend, they didn't feel quite right. Then they started feeling better. A couple days, like, no, yesterday, Sunday, and then no, it was Monday. God, my days are all messed up. So my legs started getting their life back, and then my arms went. So then I like lost feeling in my arms, and they were like jello. And I asked my friend who lost her mom a year ago, because we were, she was checking and texting me, and I'm like, by the way, are physical symptoms like a thing, like weird shit that's never happened before? And she was like, oh yeah. And she told me her experience. I won't share because privacy, but she had a, not similar, but like, whoa, that's crazy, physical experience too. And she ended up going on anti-anxiety medicine for a few weeks because just the physical symptoms got too much. And her husband like stayed home with her and everything. Like had to take off work and stuff because she couldn't like really function on the medicine. So, people have asked, how are you? And every time, I don't know why that, it's weird. It's like, people care. But something about like when somebody you don't expect reaches out, like, and it's very like heartfelt, like that brings me to tears every time. And if somebody who knew my dad reaches out, that like knows him from my childhood friends or people who knew him reach out, like that brings tears too. It's it's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's normal, right? Obviously it's all normal to have these emotions, but any, like, just like people, like there's a woman from my dance class that I've only met once. And this isn't the other sweet one that now I'm like really good friends with, that threw me a damn birthday party because I didn't want to have one because I was kind of down because my dad had been sick. I just didn't feel like planning anything, whatever. And she threw me a freaking party. She's amazing, one of my good friends now. But another one I'd met just once wrote this long, beautiful message to me that was like so touching. I'm like, it just, I don't know, makes me a little choked up, just that there are really good people in the world, in a world where there's some crappy people and there's some hard things going on in our country and a lot of division. It's like always look for the light, and it's the same thing with this. Like it's a dark time in my life. It's, this will be one of the hardest times of my life, and to have these bursts of light, especially the unexpected, it's heartwarming. So I guess I'd like to give that advice. If you hear someone has had a close passing, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like reach out if you can. If you're not comfortable and like whatever, totally. But I know some people feel like, oh, maybe they don't. Even one of my best friends yesterday was, I told her I was like hiding in my bedroom. It was my hiding day yesterday because I'd been out all weekend and like peopling and answering phone calls, how it goes. So I was kind of hiding, and she was like, well, are you hiding, like don't want to talk, or can I call? And I was like, you can call. And she was like, are you sure? Like, don't feel like you have to. So, even when you're close with somebody who's going through it, I understand the fears or the hesitancy, but, they can always not answer, right? Or they can always not respond. I haven't responded to every single person yet, I will, um, but for me at least, I don't need any grand gestures. I don't need food. I don't need gifts. I don't need flowers. And they're all appreciated and I love them if I do receive them. But it's not the need. It's, to me, knowing. It's like just the support and knowing that people care and people are here. My neighbor was like, "What do you need?" Not even like, "Is there something you need?" What do you need? And like, I just said prayers. That's all I'm asking for, right? Prayers for my father, that he's at peace. Prayers for me, my family, whatever. But I guess out of it, I would maybe, I love to give advice. I'm an advice giver all the time. I would say, if you hear of a loss, reach out, you know, reach out to the person and just say, I'm thinking of you. That's it. Or is there anything you need? And I don't know about most people. I'm not needy. It's almost like I don't like to be helped. I'm like, a weird, stubborn bull. Like, I like to feel like I can do things myself. And that's my personality trait that I know a lot of people, even my husband's like, I forget you're going through stuff whenever you are, because it's like you just handle it well. And I can handle a lot. But I so appreciate, is there anything? Or just like, I'm here for you if you need it. I'm, not even asking, but just like, I'm here. Those go a long way. I'm here for you, to me, goes beyond, I'm sorry for your loss. And there's no right, I'm not saying there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. I'm just telling you, because I know some people find it hard to know what to say, the right words, And if you know someone on a personal level, like, I'm here, sending hugs, like that means a lot. I'm just telling what hits for me. And everyone's different. But yeah, there's some people I definitely would have thought would have reached out in a deeper way, but everyone has their own lens, their own story, their own perspective, like where they're coming from. But so yes, I do ask for prayers, just that God holds my daddy in his big sky daddy arms, and that he's at peace and that I can feel him and be able to communicate, just like I do when I pray to God. My friend died when I was 18. It was a really hard thing. She had an asthma attack. It was crazy. It was awful. One of my good friends. I had severe depression from it. It was like really, really bad. And that's shaped who I am, of like where I never want to get back there. So I push through. I go out. I distract, because when she died, I just retreated and went in a hole, and I just sank deeper and deeper into the hole. I didn't know how to cope. I was 18. And so I didn't get to cope well, and it resulted in big time depression and migraines every day. It was really bad. But I talked to her every single day, and I believe in that, And so there may be one-way conversations, but spiritually, I think they are two-way. And that really helped me. That helped me through it when I was going through the loss with her. I literally just talked to her every day and would tell, well, there wasn't much to tell, because I was, like I said, hiding and having horrible pain and whatever. But what happened with that was my mom was like, we need to take you to a psychiatrist. Like, you need to get on something. Like, you can't live like that. I was a mess. And so we went in, and he was like, I'm going to prescribe you 3 pills. And I was like, fuck that. And I walked out, and my mom was like, Chris, you have to do it. And I said, I'll do something, but it's not that. I don't want to be on 3 pills. I don't want to be a zombie. I was all like, no. Not that I'm against pills, and I'm definitely not. But I would get so many side effects from pills and stuff, and I just like didn't want to. So I signed myself up for a summer class. I was in college at the time. It was like the community college. Signed up for a class, started running every morning, and I called all my friends and my brother, and to each one, I said, drag me out of this fucking house. Like, no matter, I don't care if you physically have to drag me, because I didn't want to do anything. I was so depressed and in pain. I was like, I don't care what I say or do, like, drag me out. It was that bad. And they did. I had some friends show up. One dragged me out, took me to the gym, then went for coffee.